Hello everyone, I'm Siroria, and welcome to the Magicka Nightblade PVE build and rotation video for the Blackwood Chapter DLC. Magicka Nightblade is one of the best damage dealing classes, also the one I enjoy the most. In this video, I will be going over the race, attributes, Mundus, foot buffs, champion points, and everything you need to know to build your character. I'll also go over skill setups and different gear options, including a beginner setup for CP 160, followed by rotations, parses, some advice on practicing. For your race, Kashin's, High Elf, and Dark Elf are all good choices within 1% DPS difference. Britain is good for sustain, but a few percents lower than the three mentioned above. You can clear any content in the game with any race, but these races would be a better choice. The attribute points would be all 64 points into Magicka. For the Mundus Stone, we are using the 5th Mundus, which increases our critical chance. Shadow is also a good option for some specific setups. For the foot buff, Glassly Eyeball will be your best choice. Clockwork Citrus Fillet or its cheaper version, which Mother's Potent Bro, are also good alternative if you need more health, especially for beginners. Make sure you have foot buffs all the time. We are using spell power potions that gives us major sorcery, prophecy, internet, and restores our Magicka. You can either craft it or use alliance points to buy the AP version, which has the same effect. For the champion points, check out Skinny Cheek's CP guide, which covers the basics of the system. The only difference would be the 4 slotables for blue CP, which are Backstabber, Fighting Finesse, Deadly Aim, and Master at Arms. Now, let's go over the skills. Here's the setup used in the parses later of this video. The generation is here because of sustain issues on a dummy. In groups with support sets, sustain should be fine, and you can replace it with Mystic Orb for more AoE damage. Different spammable options are also listed here. The skills can be adjusted according to the content. Here's another setup with a slight DPS loss, but having better self-heal from Swallow Soul. If you need extra survivability, swap out Dark Shade with Dampen Magic from the Light Armor skill line, or Dark Cloak for more self-heal. The first setup, we are using the new Mythic item, Harpooner's Wedding Kilt. This item set gives you stacks of critical chance and critical damage, but you lose stacks taking direct damage. It might not be used in every scenario, but it is a good option if you can keep up the stacks. With the Mythic item, we are using 5-piece Siroria, 5-piece Mother Sorrow, 1-piece Slime Claw only for the crit, and Maelstrom Inferno's Death on the back bar. Body and jewelry parts are interchangeable as long as you get 5 pieces for both sets. Mother's Sorrow weapons can be an alternative with a tiny DPS loss before you get Siroria weapons. Normal versions of Siroria and Maelstrom Inferno are fine with less than 2% difference. Although Dagger's front bar seems to be better on dummy passes with 1 to 2% higher, I still recommend using Inferno Staff in most fights since it's nearly the same DPS while having the advantage of staying at range. With Double Inferno, there are 2 variations on weapon enchants. For pure single target damage, front bar poison enchant and back bar flame enchant. If you need more AoE damage, front bar flame damage and back bar weapon damage enchant. The second setup is a traditional one, which isn't far behind compared to the Mythic setup. We're using Sun as the monster set, 5-piece Siroria, and 5-piece Mother Sorrow. For situations like Sunspire Dragons where you cannot use Sun, a piece of Slime Claw plus a piece of any monster set with Spell Critical will do. More of the Inferno is also a good option. If you feel like you cannot keep up Siroria stacks, for example in some solo content or fights with a lot of movements, Burning Spell Weave or Medusa are good alternatives, with False God being another option if you need extra sustain. Medusa is a heavy armor set, so make sure you avoid using it on body pieces or you lose some spell crit, regen, and penetration. For those who just reached CP 160, Julianos with Mother's Sorrow and any monster set will be your best choice in terms of cost and effectiveness. Damage-wise, Julianos is very close compared to Burning Spell Weave, but it can be crafted by yourself or by guildmates. Golding the weapons will be the highest priority. For Trash Pool setup, there are a lot of options, and here's the one I'm using, but not necessarily the best one. With Burning Spell Weave back bar, Monster's Lightning front bar, and Mother's Sorrow. Maelstrom Inferno isn't used here because light attack damage isn't that important in trash pools with multiple enemies. Feel free to replace Mother's Sorrow with Mechanical Acuity for more burst. Now, let's go through the rotations. Here are 2 rotations, one static and one dynamic. The static rotation is simple, where you start with the pre-buff line, then repeating the 2 lines alternately. Make sure you weave light attack before every ability, or the bow proc timing will be affected. When the enemy's health is below 25%, follow the execute part, and make sure you keep up 5 stacks of Merciless Resolve. If not, refresh it one last time. The static rotation is easier to learn, but keep in mind that it's just for you to get the base feeling, where some dots are undercasted or overcasted. At the end, you still need to learn the dynamic rotation so that you won't mess up when you deal with mechanics or swapping targets. In other words, for optimal DPS, there aren't any rotation casting skills in the same order. The concept of dynamic rotation is simple but requires more practice. After the opening part, cast your dolls or buffs only when they expire, and treat the spammable as gap fillers when all of them are up, until the next skills to be reapplied. When multiple dolls fall at the same time, cast them according to the priority. For Magblades, your highest priority would be your bow procs, followed by Unstable Wall, Twisting Path, and Mystic Orb if you have it on your bar. Then the other dots. If everything is up, use your spammables. I prefer casting bow procs after the safe light attack to avoid reapplying Merciless Resolve. You should also time your in-cap ultimate well and try not to reapply more than 2 dots during the 6 seconds burst. Below 25%, keep up 5 stacks of Merciless Resolve and stop casting bow procs, Debilitate, and Degeneration. Only cast Shade when you can benefit from the full duration. Here I would like to showcase 3 parses. The first 2 use the Mythic setup with dynamic and static rotation respectively, followed by the traditional setup. Keep an eye up for the in-cap burst and dot management when multiple of them expire at the same time. Take note that I'm bash weaving during the pause, which is not necessary as it's just around 500 to 700 DPS. If you see strange animation on light attacks which looks like lagging or doing heavy attacks, it's just high ping issues. I'm using daggers here just to showcase the highest potential, but the rotation with Inferno is the same and most often used in raids. You can check out Lico's or Skinny Cheeks video for my Inferno parse, and I'll put the link of the parse in the description. For players who aim higher, light attack weaving is very important, especially on Magblade, since Merciless Resolve and Siphoning attacks both rely on how good you weave. Light Attack Helper is a good add-on to show your light attack ratio. Ideally, the ratio should be higher than 0.95 second. To start with that, Try weaving one ability, for example your spammable, until you get decent RA ratios. Then proceed to 2 abilities with bar swaps, because people often weave too fast after a bar swap. The animation cancel by bar swap gives an illusion that you do things faster, but the fact is you're still in a global cooldown. Gradually increase the number of skills until you can do with your normal skill setup. At the same time, you can also practice dynamic rotation. Another useful add-on I found recently called a weave delay, which shows how well you weave visually with colors instead of just looking at numbers from the CMX. I'll leave you guys to enjoy the Parse. Make sure to also check out my Graven Heart and True Genius run recently to better understand how Magblade performs in trials or dungeons. Subscribe to my channel for more PVE content. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.